Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to session 3 of Let's Learn Laravel. And today we're going to cover something very short. Nah, it's very long actually. We're going to do something that is very underestimated, mostly by IT students, but it's something that is so important when it comes to developing applications. And this is something that's been overlooked by so many people. I promise you that even in the workspace, it's been overlooked so many different times. And that is design. And this time, I'm not talking about design like going to Photoshop and going to Adobe XD and designing the front end of your application. I'm not talking about that. This is about designing the back end. Now, if you want to design a backend, what do you need to do? If you ask yourself, do you need to just go ahead and just start coding out the backend and telling your stuff to do some certain functions? Or do you want to actually take a time and not make any mistakes whatsoever? There's one way to avoid all the mistakes and all the preposterous coming together to try and solve some certain problems that you're going to be incurring in future. And that one way is going and creating an ERD. So I'm going to go somewhere and show you guys what an ERD is, or rather, let me just type it down in full. An entity relationship diagram. So this is what it is. An entity relationship diagram model or entity relationship model describes interrelated things of interest in a specific domain of knowledge. A basic ER model is composed of entity types and specifies relationships that can exist between entities. So let's talk about our application. It's a blog site. What entities are going to be there? We have users who are going to be using the site, and we also have the blog posts. We also have, say, comments and testimonials. We also have, various things that are going to be non-essential to be looked at. But inside a blog site, that's exactly what we expect to have. Now, I'm going to go to, I don't know if SmartDraw is free. I know draw.io is free, but I don't know about SmartDraw. So Lucidchart enables us to draw all these things, UML diagrams, entity relationship diagrams, whatever you like. You guys can go and look for it and go ham. Go ham. I mean, there's no restrictions. In Kenya, we say that. Okay, I'm not going to even say whatever I'm going to say, but yes, you just go try it out and you'll be enjoying yourself. So we're going to go in. I'm going to actually log in. I have an account with Lucidchart, and I have a Google account actually. So I'm going to take it on King Steven and HD, which is my gaming channel. If you guys want to go and check that out, if you're into gaming or whatnot. But yeah, here we are. So this is an example of an ERD that I drew some time back. I'm not going to be using this. I actually want to go to new blank document, and I want to create a document anyway. Okay, maybe I'll just use whatever I had before. Let's just use this one and we just go into knowing whatever we need to actually know. Okay, so I'm gonna delete this, delete this, delete this, delete this, delete this, delete this, and then delete all of these and this. Okay, so this is our user entity. Majorly, this is what we are actually going to be creating, or rather going to be having inside our application. So we have this various things. We have our primary key, which is our ID, and it's going to be our type big integer. So you can see the type of our ID that's inside our users table is going to be a big integer. We have name, which is string, email, which is string, phone number, which is string, password, which is string, and we have a boolean, which is admin. We have an is admin, which is boolean. Now what this essentially does is, if it's an admin, then it's true. If it's not an admin, then it's false. We move on. Then timestamps, which is a group. Now the reason why I put it as group is because we have two date types inside this group, which is created at and updated at, which is primarily created by Laravel. Now I'm going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to create a blog, blog, so that it can stand for a blog post. Then we have our primary key, which is ID big integer. That's fine. Then we also have our user ID, which is also going to be big integer, which is because this user ID is coming from this primary key. So I'm going to type this in as a foreign key. And if we remember our database systems, if you guys can recall, our foreign key has to be a primary key first before we can declare it as a foreign key. Then, of course, we have our title, which is also going to be a string. We have our category, which is going to be a string. We have our post itself, which is content. And now this one will be a long text. I'm going to use long text, which is now pretty much predefined by the length of our content. And then we also have to check what else do we need inside our blog post. We have our category, we have our content, we have a title, we have timestamps. What else do we need? I don't think we need anything. Maybe an image. So we need an image which is of type string. The reason why I've said type string is because we're going to store the image inside the application itself, and then inside the database we'll store the name of the image that will be used to retrieve the image from the project files itself. So yeah, it's a quite a genius thing to think about. Let me just draw this line. Now this line essentially means that there's a relationship between the user and the blog. Now these dashes do mean something. This dashes, like this one over here, can mean one. This, if you put it like this O, it means zero. If you put it like this, I don't know what it means. And if you put it like this, it means many to zero, many or zero or something like that. Now I'm going to put it as one, meaning that one user can have, this line means can have, and then we can come here and then use many. So one user can have many blog posts, and likewise the blog posts belong to users. So one blog post belongs to one user. Okay, now what other entities do we have in our blog site? Maybe we have the comments. Comments can belong to blogs. So we can duplicate this, call it comments, and now comments have a relationship with both users and the blog post itself. So we can have our ID, we can have a user ID, we can also have our blog ID, which is a big integer. And we also have our comment, and it's going to be of type, well, it can be long text. Let's just say long text. And then we can have our content, which is not supposed to be there actually. We can have timestamps, maybe. Let's have timestamps. So I'm going to delete this row. So delete row, and then I'm going to hit this and hit delete row. Something else I want to probably instill into our user is maybe the profile image, but nah, I don't need that. That's a bit complicated. I don't want to make it as complicated as many people will find it. So one user can have many comments. That's a given, and one comment, one comment belongs to one user. Okay. Another thing that we can set up over here is that one blog can have many comments, and one comment belongs to one blog. Can't have one comment belonging to multiple blogs unless it's being repeated. So it's being repeated in another post. So that's another thing to be considerate about. Now, what's next? I think this is a basic ERD diagram based on the project that we are doing. So we can create our databases based on whatever we've labeled in our ERD. So this is our users table. This is our blogs table, and this is our comments table. This is how they interrelate with one another. So from there, after creating the ERD, it's as simple as now knowing how to do an implementation of these models within our project. So I'm going to actually delete that later on, and we're going to start from here. So what we have our users model already set up, and our database tables already set up for users. So this is what this is where you locate them inside database migrations, and then you'll find the tables that are there. So there's the create users table, which means there's the users table that's going to be created. Then we have the create password resets. Then we have create field jobs table. Then also in our models, for our models, we'll find them in app models, and then we'll find user.php, which is our only model for the time being. So our users model has already been created. All we need to do is modify the things that we need to modify, which is like the phone number, for example, the is admin string over here, which we can set up just now. So I'm going to set them up twice. So phone number should be of type bigint. So bigint like that, and password is admin is boolean. So I'm going to create a big integer, and this big integer will be phone number. If I can type, I would be very pleased. And then this other one is a boolean. So if this is a boolean, is admin, and that is it. That's all we need to do. Now timestamps is already there. All right, now we are done with this users table. We can move on and now create models for blog and comments. And the way to do that is typing in to our terminal right here, php artisan serve, not serve, but artisan make model. And the model name will at this point will be in singular, so it will be blog. And then we want to create its migration as well, so we're going to do a -m, and that is done. All right, so we have our create blogs table, and then we have our blog.php right there. So now, since they're all ready, we can come into a create blogs table. We come into blogs and see what properties we need to put into our table here. So we have our user ID, our title, category, content, and image. So we have to create those. So we're going to have a table being equal to big integer, and then we have user ID. So now our user ID will be labeled like that. We have the next one being equal to our title, so that will be a string. So our string title, like so. Then we have also our category, so it should be a string. We have category. Which will be dynamically added as well. So we'll also have our categories table. So we'll have a categories table that goes to blogs. So that is something also that we're going to add right now actually. So we're going to copy this and paste it here. Then we call it categories. So we have our pk, which is id big integer. Then we have our blogs. We'll just say our blogs will have, let's just call this categories. So this will be category, and this will be string, and then the rest we just delete. delete row, delete row, oops, delete row, delete row, delete row, delete row. So the connection between this is that one category can have many blogs. I hope that is good. And many blogs can only belong to one category. And one blog can only belong to one category. One blog cannot cannot belong to many categories. So that's one thing that needs to be noted. Cool. Now that's set up. We can go and continue. We have our category. We also have our long text content. And what else do we have inside our blogs? We have our image, which is going to be a text, string, I mean. So image. And then we also have timestamps. So that's done. The blogs table is done. The next one that we want to take a look at is now our comments table. So our comments table will have a normalization of the user ID and the ID of the blog post that we're going to be posting to. So we're going to type in comment -m, and it's going to create our model very successfully. Now we're going to look into our comments table, and we're going to type in these ones. There's the user ID, there's the blog ID, and the comment. So there is user ID, blog ID, and comment. So user ID, blog ID, comment, which means that there are two big integers over here. So there's another shortcut that you can actually take. So you can do column, and then you can see big increments, big integer right here. So all I'm just going to type in is big integer, and then I'm going to type in user underscore ID. I'm going to hit tab. I can say nullable, nope. Default, nope. So after that, I'm just going to copy this and paste it down here, and then I'm going to type in blog. Then after blog, we're going to take in another one, which is, let's see, so we're going to do comment, which is long text. So long text, comment, and it is done. Now that is done for the table, for the comments, for the blogs, and all that. There's the last one, which is now going to be our categories table. So I'm going to type in category, and automatically it will change this into plural. And if you don't believe me, check this out. So you can see create categories. There's no way it could have known that, surely. That's some sort of artificial intelligence or machine learning implemented here. Now if we have our categories table, we're going to just come here, and double down and do a string category. Just like that, and it's over. All the tables are done, and that's how you finish your tables, and that's how you set up for your ERD to be a successful ERD, because it will enable you, I promise you, to create your application much faster when it comes to the backend. As you can see, I've already created my tables. If I hit a certain function, it will go straight into my database, and then all I just need to do now is create my database. So all I just need to do is come into phpMyAdmin, so localhost/phpMyAdmin, and then I come and create my database. My database will be called blog. So my database has been created for blog, and then all I just need to do now is run this command called php artisan migrate. And after doing that, all my tables will be created. If I come and refresh the structure, we'll see all the tables that have been loaded up over here. And that's how easy it is when it comes to creating all your database tables. Right, cool. Now let's look at the blog and declare relationships between the blog category, comments, and users. So if we come and look at our ERD again, we have a one-to-many relationship over here in the users, and you can see that actually, let me just reload this to see if it actually is on. It's not on. Our server is not on. So one thing that you can enable really inside your Laravel models is the relationship between the models that are in question. So I'm going to go to laravel.com and show you guys things to do with relationships. Okay, so we're going to go into what? Eloquent ORM, and we're going to go to relationships. Now, defining relationships is what we want, and that's what we actually going to do. We're going to do a one-to-many relationship. So, this is how it's defined in Laravel 8. Maybe some of you have been looking at Laravel 7, Laravel 6, and you've been seeing only the model has been called once. This is not how that's not how it's done. This is how it's done now. So this is what I'm essentially going to do. I want to do this to my blog side of things. So inside my blog post, actually inside my user has many comments and has many blog posts. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do a public function. This is how they do it, public function comments. So I'm going to do public function comments. Yeah, that's the first one. And this function, I'm going to return this. Yeah, and then I'm going to do a has many. So now this has many, I'm going to do the related. So this is going to be a string, and the string will be app. Sorry about that, app. And then backslash. Is it a backslash or forward slash? Yeah, it's a backslash. And then I'm going to go to models. And then I'm going to go to a certain one called comment here. And it ends there. Now, there's something else. There's some more parameters that you can see over here. There's the foreign key and there's the local key. So the foreign key normally states, like, for example, if we come in here and do the foreign key and the local key. Now, the local key meaning that the key that's within the database of the blog, and the foreign key that is in the database of this model over here. So if we do that, let's actually try that out. So we're going to look for the key that's within the comments, which is going to be blog ID, and then inside here we're just going to type in ID. Now that's all fine and dandy. When we come into looking into what our user has, actually no, it's not blog ID but user ID, because we're in the users table. I thought we were in the blogs table. Now we're going to come and create another one called public function. I'm looking for what? What am I looking for? I need my blogs. Cool. Now every user has many blogs, so we now return this. So this directive has many blogs. So I'm going to do app slash models slash blogs, or actually slash blog, just like that. And then I'm going to take the ID to be user ID and then just compare it with my ID, which is like that. Cool. Now that's good. What else do I want to declare that the user has? Nothing else, I'm pretty sure, because this is how our ERD ends. The users have only two different relationships to other different entities. Now let's go and look at our blogs and then we see what we have. to say about our blogs. I'm going to save this and I'm going to go to blog, and then inside my blog I'm going to create a public function users. No, actually, let's not talk about users. Yeah, let's talk about the comments. And inside comments here, I'm just going to type in return this. So this has many, and then I'm going to type in app slash model, or models rather, and then slash. Now we're going to look for our our comment, and then we're going to compare it with our blog ID, and then we're just going to take our ID inside the blog. That's the local key. Cool. Now that's done for the comments. Do we have any other relationships? The blogs have one category, the categories have many blogs. That is fine. So if we go to categories and then we create that function over here, we just say public function blogs, and this is a function, and I'm going to open it up like one. Then I'm just going to do return this, so this directive, and then I'm going to say what has many. So this has many has been repeated so many times. Models slash has many blogs. Yeah, so I'm just going to type in blog, and then I'm going to type in over here the local key, which is blog ID. No, in fact, actually, categories are not even supposed to have relationships to any other. Categories are just there for display so that we can actually do a select feature, so that we can, give our blogs certain categories based on the categories that have already been listed. So they don't have any relationship to the blogs. That is a mistake. Okay, so that is done, and we now know how to define relationships. We'll have to go to the controllers in the next class, ladies and gentlemen. So tune in again, and I'll see you guys there. Take care, and happy coding.